welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. A couple of interesting things to talk through this week. The first of those is I've finally kicked off the series on writing declarative agents in Microsoft 365 Copilot. I think it's going to be a 5-part series of blogs and videos. I'm going to do the blogs first, and then I'm going to come back and do the videos. I think that's going to work best because then the videos are sort of based around and embellish and expand on the blog content, and also enable me then to kind of do some walkthroughs as well. So that's the plan. I've got the first of them out last week, the second of them hopefully going out this week. This one's kind of all about an introduction. So it's, okay, you've heard of declarative agents, but Microsoft talks about a lot of things, especially, when it comes to Copilot. So, what are these? Where do they sit? And how do they sit alongside some of the other things Microsoft released and have been talking about? So that's what this blog post is. Kind of goes through the really high level, what are declarative agents, and specifically what are declarative agents that have these API plugins as well, because it's these API plugins that I think make them really interesting, and separate them out and make them something that's worthy of kind of me covering. And what I mean by that is, I think without the API plugin part, having Copilot declarative agents is interesting, but it's not what I would call a developer solution. It's a power user solution. It's a citizen developer solution. I don't think you need to be overly technical. And I don't even mean low code to pro code. I just don't think you need any code if you're going to build a declarative agent. So that's kind of the abstraction level that Microsoft are at the moment, which is really interesting and very powerful. And I'm excited about how it opens up Copilot and declarative agents to lots of different people. But the reality of, what I'm doing here, trying to talk to developers and trying to keep developers informed, I think the entry point for us should be declarative agents with API plugins. So that's where I'm aiming this blog post series at. So that's out. So you can go and read that. You can't watch the video for it yet, but then hopefully by the time you've read that and by the time you watch this and all the rest of it, the second one should be out fairly soon as well. So fingers crossed for that. All right, other things that happened this week. This kind of went by kind of quietly, but I've written it up anyway. So if you've got a Copilot plugin, if you've written a Copilot plugin already based on messaging extensions, perhaps, and you've configured it so that it can show up in Teams meetings, you may well find that it's currently not available to get at in Teams meetings, because Microsoft have removed the ability for you to add Copilot plugins to Teams meetings. So what do we mean by this? What are we talking about? So let's have a look here. Here's what it used to look like. So you've been able to search for extensions in meetings, and this is the Chrome of a meeting in the background. So you add things, and you can also get Copilot extensions. That way you can see the Copilot plugins that you might have here as well. So this is actually going away. What's kind of maybe still slightly confusing is that as of last week, when I put all these notes together, this web page from Microsoft still worked. It no longer works, so that's a really good thing. Actually, I should go and update my my blog post. That's a useful thing. It doesn't. I mean, it could be better. It could point to the fact that this no longer exists, rather than just kind of completely taking it away. But it's useful. So this is a useful screenshot. I'm glad I took it when I did. This was the support document that showed you how, as a user, to get to Copilot plugins in Teams meetings. This is a feature that's been deprecated. It was deprecated last week. There wasn't really any notice period. It just sort of happened overnight. So if you've written messaging extensions that are targeting Teams meetings, I think you may be out of luck. I don't think you have any notice period. I think they've already gone. I feel bad for you. I'm sorry. I think there's probably some questions about what's coming next. I think I have seen a different roadmap item that talks about extending Copilot agents out to chats. Maybe that includes meetings. We'll have to see. But anyway, the spring cleaning has happened. This deprecation notice is here. The user-facing document has been taken away. Lots of paragraphs have been taken out of several different documents, all of which referenced the fact that plugins worked in Teams meetings. So the idea of having plugins in Teams meetings has been removed from the record. It's like it never existed. I am kind of curious as to what happens with Copilot for Sales, because Copilot for Sales got this as a feature last year. This idea that when you're in a meeting, you can invoke Copilot for Sales, and then it could be in the meeting, it could listen, it can make suggestions. I guess that's not there anymore. I'm not super close to Copilot for Sales, but let me show you. Sorry, I was talking through my screen and you realized you couldn't see it. This was the deprecation notice that I was just talking about on the What's New for Developers page. And then, like I say, a whole bunch of other documents have had their references to Copilot in meetings removed. And then this is the bit I'm less sure about because I'm not super close to Copilot for Sales, but it certainly did have this plugin, which I guess you can't get to now. I don't know. Anyway, no real word kind of from Microsoft on why or anything like that. There's no blog post announcing this or anything like that. That deprecation notice that doesn't link anywhere is like the only reference we have for what's happened, and the fact that it's all suddenly disappeared from the record. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel bad for you if you've written things against it, because it looks like they've all just been taken away. Okay, other things. I want to remind you about ACAT, the app compliance automation tool. The reason I want to remind you is there's a new blog post about it on the Microsoft 365 developer blog by Yan Jin. I don't think there's anything new here. I think Yan is also trying to remind us that it exists, but it's definitely worth talking through again. It's a super useful tool if you are publishing if you've got a Teams application and you're trying to publish it via Partner Center, trying to get it so people can buy it or even just keep it available. So putting it into the Teams store and stuff like that. Going through that kind of compliance journey can be frustrating, can be annoying, can be an awful lot of data to collect, an awful lot of things to answer, a ginormous exercise. And I've been through it manually and it's horrible. That's why I jumped on. I was on one of the very early previews of ACAT when it first came out, and it made a huge difference in automatically collecting a lot of information for you that then you just had to validate and just left you with a lot less work to do. So if you are prepping things going into the Teams App Store, into Partner Center, go check out ACAT now. It's kind of almost worth getting going with it now, even whilst you're still building. And maybe you're not quite ready to go into Partner Center, but you know that's going to be in your future. Maybe start this up now, because it does kind of change sometimes some of your architecture, some of the things you think about, and it might give you homework that you need some time to kind of work through. So you might want that extra time, especially if you've already got something up and running, like the back end of your solution is up and running somewhere in Azure. Then you can actually start to do this now. Don't wait until your Partner Center submission and then be like, right, what do we have to do for Partner Center? It's worth getting this stuff in now. And then finally, I just want to draw your attention, if you haven't seen it already, to this blog post around what Microsoft and OpenAI are doing, evolving their partnership, which I think is probably true. I think it's interesting, and it's they're partnering on Stargate. So I do think this is going to be an interesting part of the Microsoft OpenAI relationship. I think it's definitely one to watch. I think we're all kind of finding out in real time what it means, including probably Microsoft and OpenAI. I don't think Microsoft wants to rely on OpenAI completely. I don't think OpenAI wants to rely on Microsoft completely. So I do think this is interesting. It's good. I think, it's good that we see this happening in the open. I think that's good for all of us. And I think it puts Microsoft in a strong place, honestly. And we'll see where OpenAI get to and what they're doing. They're also obviously having a lot of success. It's good that they've got these kind of agreements in place going forward so that the rest of the industry has some stability as well. I think that's important. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking because we're going to run out of time. Whatever it is you're doing, have a great one, and I'll speak to you next time.